That's a mouthful. We are here for the executive committee meeting. Today's September 27th, and it is now 9 o'clock. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. It's on the wall in the back. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May I have a roll call?
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Chair Ross. Chair Ross.
Here.
Vice Chair Furr.
Here.
Member Shuham. Here. Member Davis.
Here.
Member Mateo Bone. Member Mike Ryan. Member Dunn. Yep.
No.
No. Member Villalobos.
Present.
Member Mead.
Here.
Member AJ Ryan.
Here.
Member Newton.
Here.
Member Glassman. Member Mayerson.
I'm here.
Member Bright Cruz. Member Geller.
Do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Thank you very much. Moving on to public comment. We have 2 minutes per person, one time only, and time cannot be allotted to another person. First up is Debbie Green. Right at the podium. No mic. We're getting a mic.
Debbie Green in Southwest Ranches. Is better? Okay. All righty. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to make a comment in regards to the first community engagement meeting. And I'm hoping that you all address with the consultants. I'm curious to see to hear the feedback from the consultants from that meeting. But at the same time, the attendance at that meeting, I think they thought was greater than what they had expected to be there. And based on the size of the venue and the amount of chairs having to keep being pulled in. I think part of the issue is that they need to be more transparent in when they're putting out the message that there is a community engagement meeting for Broward County, that the flyer that went out, it basically said a discussion about the Solid Waste Authority of Broward County's master plan for an innovative, environmentally sustainable, and economically efficient regional solid waste management. When people see that, most people think this is wonderful. They're doing a great thing. They're going in the right way. But no, up until a year ago, I wouldn't have thought that innovative and economically efficient and sustainable included waste to energy, incineration, burners, whatever you want to call them. So I think if people understand that that is a possibility included in this definition, you would have more people to respond. I mean, this is Broward County. And I think at that first engagement meeting, there's probably 35 to 40% of the people in attendance were from our grassroots effort of the email list that we've gathered, whether at the farmers market or the different events we've attended. And there has not been one person at any of the events we're at that is in favor of any new incineration. So I think at that engagement meeting, thank you.
Thank you very much. Was I deaf or didn't I hear that? Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak that hasn't signed up as yet? And we have no one on virtual, correct? All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and close out the public comment, move on to item number 4, approval of minutes. And for recognition and for recording purposes, Commissioner Bowen has arrived. Thank you very much. I have a motion by Mayor Ryan from Sunrise. And I have a second from Member Villalobos. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. It passes unanimously. Sure, Mayor Mike Ryan and and Member Villalobos did the second. We have we have the item number 5 coming up, SWA recommendation of the 2025 budget year-to-end update. We need to take a vote on that, and I'll ask Todd to please review.
Thank you. Sorry, we didn't get that. This should be real quick. What you see in front of you is a year-end actual through various allocations through the end of the year. You'll see the improvements with regards to the bottom line and how that carried over. Those labor savings this year all carried over to the bottom line into the next following year. Those are the adjustments that you see in front of you today. I wanted to make sure that we had an accurate assumption for year end so that we understood the challenges and what was available for us to be able to work through the 2025 budget, which is before us today for recommendation to the governing board after this.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Hearing no questions, do I have a motion? By Member Schuman. Second was from Member Newton. What did I say? I'll go, Mike. Don't shoot him. My apologies, sincerely. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Moving on to item number 6, SWA Executive Committee nomination and election of chair and vice chair. We will go first with the vice chair. Do I have a nomination for vice chair? May I be so bold, and I will pass the gavel to the vice chair, but I'm going to recommend and nominate Commissioner Beam Fur, Vice Mayor. Thank you. Any further nominations? Thank you very much. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. You passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to the item for chair. Do I have a nomination? Member Fur.
I would like to nominate Greg for another month. And I think, and I know that this would only last a month, but I think, when we did the ILA, I actually think we made a mistake because it should be a little closer. Okay. I would like to nominate Greg Ross for the next month. And I'd like to put a discussion item on for next month. The fact is, many of us here, not many, a few of us here are not going to be here next month after the November elections. I think we should have had this so that whoever, when we're doing this nomination and this, that we have a full slate here to pick from. We're not going to have that, right? We don't know who's going to be here next time. So I'm gonna nominate Greg to be here till you're termed out. And that at the next meeting, we talk about nominating somebody else, but also either taking a good look at the bylaws and how we should do this so we don't run into this issue again. Obviously, we weren't thinking about this, but it is an issue because I think there could be a huge flip over. So anyway.
Thank you. Nomination's been made. Do I have any other nominations?
I think we have to have a discussion first because I'm generally supportive of that. I think it's a great idea. I think we did not think this through.
Yeah.
I think it's apparent that could have folks who are qualified, but reticence over campaigns or who's going to be here would prohibit them from being considered by the board for fear of this and having to do it pursuant to the bylaws within 60 days thereafter. The question I have, though, is more of a point of order to Mr. Cole, whether that's something that is permitted under the ILA and or the current draft of the bylaws. If so, I'm supportive of that.
Yes, in order to be qualified to be elected chair, you have to be a member right now. So since Mayor Ross is a member of the executive committee right now. He can be elected. Once he is no longer qualified to serve, he will have to resign, or he'd effectively be, even if he doesn't resign, he won't be here anyway. So at that point, you have 60 days to fill that vacancy, and you would have to do it at that point. But yeah, there's nothing legally, you absolutely can do that.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. Thank you for that point of order. Then I would be prepared to second it, subject to the discussion of this body.
Thank you very much. Member Newton.
Yeah, the only question I have is you said, let's wait till the next meeting then to pick a new chair, but I think we should pick the new chair today because then they have a month or a couple of months to actually work with the chair now to kind of blend in what's going on. Everybody knows if you're a commissioner, it's one thing, to be in the mayor is another. Same thing here. I think being on the executive committee is one thing, but being the actual chair and working with Todd almost every day is different. So I think if we're gonna, I have no problem with Ross being still November, but I think we should pick the new chair today so they can blend it in, so they're ready to be both feet on the ground starting in November when Ross retires. Or walks away or quits or whatever it's called.
I'm not a quitter. Member Suhan.
Thank you, Chair. I support the motion, but I want to make sure everyone understands the point was discussed extensively in the bylaws. And for the life of me, I can't remember why we ended up this way. So I'm going to ask Jamie, if you would, please explain why it had to be this way.
The most of the discussion was at the governing board level, not the executive committee level.
Yeah, a little closer.
Oh, the governing board doesn't meet very often. So the governing board has to meet in September to approve the budget. The fiscal year starts on October 1. So the reason it's set up like this is because you're going to have a meeting of the governing board later today. If you don't select a chair, you're going to have another meeting of the governing board within 60 days. Unless you could do the same thing you're doing here, talking about select someone and they just don't take office until the Mayor Ross leaves. But the idea, and also you don't have elections every year in November, it's every other year. So it's going to be different each year. So the discussion was, since the governing board is meeting in September to do the budget, that they should also select the chair at that point. Because if not, you're going to have to get all 29 people, or at least a quorum of the 29 people, you're going to have to get together sometime within that 60 days. Although you could preempt it using the Mayor Ryan solution.
Sure.
Your solution.
Mayor Newton.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Mayor Newton's solution, however, doesn't allow for people that are being sworn in November to be considered for the position.
Right.
And that, I think, is, you're reminding me, that was the rub, is the budget cutoff. So, and we have two separate chair positions. We have a chair of the executive board and we have a chair of the board. And so right now, this vote is for chair of the executive committee, correct?
That's correct.
So, I don't know whether it warrants changing the fiscal year or things like that so that it aligns every year with elections, because I think it is important that we have a full slate to select from. And so I would maybe ask, Mr. Chair, if we could have council come back to us with a proposed solution. We knew this was going to happen, but we just couldn't figure out a way around it with the fiscal year. And so maybe the answer is change the fiscal year or do something different to align with elections. But I would just suggest that we have council come back to us with proposed changes to the bylaws that address this concern. But until such time, I support the motion, the nomination.
Member Villalobos, and then member Mayerson, followed by Mike. Is that still up for you? Yeah, okay.
I think thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. So you being out soon, the knowledge that you have had for the last years, I'm not sure who else here has been on for so long, aside from Member Furr. What happens? Like
I just, as a courtesy, let me say I will always be here. I will always be available. I will always assist in any shape, form, or manner. So I respect what you're saying, but I think, Mike, you were around also.
Right.
So, I'm not indispensable, but I will always be available.
And you're not up for reelection. So in
But I'm done in
essence,
2 years.
so in essence, we have one member that's, will be leaving us and one member that's up for reelection.
I think there may be some others. Let me, if I might,
Right, so as a matter of functionality, what would happen if there was an absence of the chair, the vice chair takes over. It's seamless. Also, I would say, everybody around this table has had the experience over the last year to, I think, serve as chair. No, everybody knows, we've been meeting every 2 weeks. I have no doubt that this would be a seamless. And third, the executive director's responsibility is to make sure the operations of what's happening here goes on uninterrupted. There are a number of folks that are up for election that I think would be otherwise qualified. And I think that what Member Shuham said is what we need to do. We need to go back and look at this and fix that, because there could also be newly electeds who would be excellent for it, even if they didn't have the institutional knowledge. There might be reasons why a body would do that. That's just.
Yeah, thank you.
thank you. Member Marison.
Just briefly, the other part is not all of municipal elected officials are elected in November. There are some that are elected in March. So that's another monkey wrench thrown into the process. So I just wanted to point that out.
But I think the majority.
Point well taken. Majority is you can. And I think the solution that Jamie Cole may come up with would be, so we have a second meeting.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I want inclusivity. I want buy-in. And if it requires governing board to come in again, terrific. We get to speak with the others. I think it's a positive rather than a negative. So, any other?
Mr. Chair, just real briefly, I agree 100% with that. And I also want to say that I don't think picking an interim to work with you is necessary at this point. I think we focus on fixing the issue moving forward, look at the full slate when it's done. And I know that I'm confident that this body will pick the person who needs to be chair and should be chair.
I thank you very much. Do I have a motion to close? Motion to close nomination. Okay. Well, motion and second. Okay, fair enough. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Thank you very much.
So Mayor Ross, before you move on, I just want to make one thing to make sure we're clear as to the next meeting. So the end of October, at the end of October, we still won't have the new slate. So should the plan be that the next election will be at the end of November? And, Commissioner Furr can run that meeting as the vice chair if you resign at November 5th. I mean, to have an election on October 27th is the same as having it today, because you still won't know.
No,
So
I think,
right. So I think the plan should be to have
The one after.
right.
the one after. In November is when we will have the election then.
I think what Member Furr was saying was next meeting on the 25th, we have a discussion on what to do. And then the following meeting in November, you're going to have an election.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure that we shouldn't put on the election on
No.
the next agenda.
All right, thank you very much. And before I forget, when you speak, can you please speak into the mic? Thank you. SWA, Integrated Communication and Outreach Plan Update. Todd.
Thank you. This is a quick item. This was an item that was brought up at the last meeting for this integrated plan, and we're developing that right now. There's a lot of different components of that integrated communication and outreach plan. Been working with Member Dunn and a number of other members with regards to development of that. We will have that available for you next meeting.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to the 8th item. Yes.
Thank you. So just a couple, I want to follow up on the public meeting we had. I don't know if this is the appropriate place to do it or not, but I'll jump in there anyway. So overall, I thought it went really well. I thought that there was great involvement from the public. As Debbie said, I think it far exceeded their expectations because we just kept bringing in more chairs and more chairs and more chairs, which was good. But I think there are some things to learn from there that I just want to bring out and get on the record. So number one is, this is a great thing. The room was too small. So that's awesome. We need a bigger room, which is great. The acoustics in the room were terrible and it made it really tough. Even people just 2 or 3 seats away, very difficult to hear. So we need to find a location that will have better acoustics for us. And the third thing I would say is that we need to set expectations a little differently because I got a lot of emails afterwards that were not positive, where they were disappointed in that I thought we were going to fight the incinerator at this meeting, and there was only one question about the incinerator. And that's not, that was not the purpose of the meeting. So, but I think that's for the people that were there, that's kind of what was on their mind. So I just think we need to communicate. There's a balance there of communicating that the incinerator is on the table so people show up, but that this is much bigger. This is working out a plan for the next 40 years that may or may not include an incinerator. So we need information on recycling, composting, the whole 9 yards. And so I just think that the communication going out there can be done a little bit better. Thank you.
Understood. And during the next session, there'll be a presentation on that.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much. Item number 9, new and old business. Excuse me. Item number 8, SWA Communications. Todd?
This was an item that was requested to be put on the agenda by Member Mayerson. Right on top of it. So, and just with regards to being able to talk about the communication and the communication plan, we will be developing, again, for the next meeting, that integrated plan requested at the last executive committee that's in process right now. But Member Meyerson had a number of other comments that I think are great to be able to work through as part of that development.
Yeah. You good? Are you through?
Mhm. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Member Marison?
So I brought this to the attention of our executive director. We all are in cities. We have constant communication with our city manager, obviously we don't have behind the scenes with our elected officials, but in the communication aspect, our city manager sends out a weekly update. I know Hollywood does as well. Just what's happening, what's going on information wise. So it just, as I look at it, we need to up our internal communication to our members, what's happening, where meetings are, what events are going on, things that we might want to participate in. I know Commissioner Furr has sent us and said, here, look at this, article or read this periodical or whatever it may be. I think that's so that we have that knowledge and understanding and we're better able to explain it to the public. From an external standpoint, and this goes back to Mayor Bright Cruz had kind of mentioned, and I know Debbie Green had also mentioned as far as the information. We're now going into the social media aspect of it, the website, the other aspects of things, which again, I had mentioned to the executive director, and I know it's coming down the road, but just my opinion is we're starting to engage people through social media. One of the easiest ways is to show pictures. Here's our event. This is what we did. See how crowded the room is? See all the people that came? Those are the type of things that I think we need to, and Todd had mentioned that he's, that's coming down the road. But I just, when I see it, I look at, we should have been better prepared, especially for our first meeting, is you're trying to make a good impression. And if we're going to, and again, everybody has hiccups along the way, but just something out there, something on our website. Here was the first meeting, more information to come. Those type of things in that communication aspect so that, again, weekly, daily, hourly, it will vary. But for me, doing this once a month and then hurry and wait it up because we have a, meeting tomorrow and we're going to send out an agenda, today. I mean, again, social media went out. By the way, meeting tomorrow. That should have been done 2 weeks ago, leading up. So this room would be packed. And again, maybe, I'm thinking pie in the sky, but we want to engage more of our community because as good of the information we may have received on that outreach, I think there are, 2 million people that have no clue. So we want to be able to engage them. We want to be able to engage, again, we talked about school board and I know Todd had mentioned educational component. I thought the school board was coming here and having a seat at the table somewhere along the way. I don't see them here. But those are the things that we need to do. So that's, my communication aspect of it. And I don't,
Member Ryan.
Mr. Chair, one issue I think going forward on communication as well is a lot of us believe social media gives us the biggest bang for the buck and that it is measured by metrics of likes or people who click, but it only touches a portion of the community. We know that. And in all our cities, we do a good job with social media, but what we don't always do is get to penetrate into communities that don't rely on that. So I think moving forward, we really need to focus on culturally sensitive newspapers, culturally sensitive radio, faith-based community, getting into their flyers, getting into HOAs, things that don't always rely on, particularly in the environment where there's so much social media flying through to the point, it's easy to miss a single. And so I know this will be part of a more comprehensive with Mercury and others, but I think we need to really start not moving away from social media, but not believing it's the panacea for getting information out. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Fur.
On that same point, I think what you're really looking for is a public information officer that's doing it full time. Because that's, and I do think it's going to take that. Because I think, if a year from now we're voting or, on countywide on something, we want to make sure that everybody has that information. The only way to do that is having somebody that's their full-time job. And they're getting to everything you just mentioned, to every radio station, to every little newspaper. So we may want to consider that. And yes, we've got Mercury, but that's, that we didn't hire them to do a public information officer the way that would be. So it's something maybe we should put on as a discussion item.
And it's one of the reasons that we have not actually.
Mike.
Yes.
It is on. Yeah.
Only
Understood. And one of the reasons that we haven't hired a number of that position, any positions yet, is because I'm getting the plan together with regards to be able to work through those challenges. There was originally in the budget office manager. I'm not sure we need the office manager. I think we need more of this person that we're talking about right now. So we were going to develop that plan going forward. Let's get through the budget approval today. I'll have a good understanding on what the parameters are to be able to work through that. And I'll bring that up as part of the executive committee meeting next month.
well, I'd make a motion that we hire one and the county pay for it.
Brutal, just brutal.
I'll be over.
And it wouldn't be the same if it were ending. Thank you for those comments, Member Mead.
Thank you, Chair. A little bit sideways maybe from the communications and more in line with what Member Breitkreutz had stated regarding the meeting. I wanted to, I know Member Dunn is not here, but I want to thank her for offering the community center at Lauderhill. But I do agree with Member Breitkreutz. It was not a good venue for what we had. I would also suggest that instead of having such a prearranged set of questions, that we open it up more toward the public so that they can bring the questions to us rather than we select the questions that we want them to ask or answer. I think we'll get better feedback. I think we'll get more important feedback. And I think we'll get a better diverse opinion of what is expected of us that way.
Thank you. All these comments are well taken. And I can advise that we have been in touch with the consultants already, have had a meeting with them. I know that they have taken to heart all the comments, and we will move forward in improving on all of that. Member Villalobos.
Thank you, Chair. Just one last thing. I know all of us have social media, or most of us should, or whatever the case may be, but I'm just going to make an encouragement for all of us in this team and also on the governing team to be following all the pages that the social media pages that the SWA has put on, either retweet it, share it, like it, comment on it, or take pictures when you're here, talk about it, and start letting us be the forefront of sharing that information to the public. I think as much as possible. I know some folks don't like social media because of the comments they end up getting or the feedback they end up getting from residents, like, oh, what is this about? What is that about? But I think just share what we're doing, especially now that we have some social media platforms. That's all. Thank you.
And I think old school, we can all utilize our city websites, make sure it's on there, and candidly talk to everyone that you possibly can. I think word of mouth is always the best. But having said that, anything else on this issue? Moving on to the 9th item, new and old business and informational material. Anyone have anything new at this time? Anything that they want to reiterate as far as old business? And informational, you can always review what we have on there. Member Marison.
I'd just like to congratulate you, Mr. Chair, and you, Mr. Vice Chair, on your, I guess, reelection.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Then do I have a motion to adjourn the executive board meeting? Thank you. I won't even ask all in favor. Give us about, because and I think we have the other agenda. May I? And I believe that starts at 9:45. So we have about 15 minutes. Please.